Jack wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped off the dusty transport onto the uneven metal floor of the Black Nebula market. The air was thick with the smell of burnt circuits, fried oil, and alien spices. Merchants shouted over each other, peddling everything from illegal starship fuel cells to rare alien artifacts. Jack was a cowboy, a simple man from the outer rim planets used to rough terrain and rougher people. But nothing in his life had prepared him for a market like this. He kept his eyes low at first, watching the crowd, listening to the chatter of the vendors and the metallic clatter of robotic assistants carrying goods. Then he spotted a sign that made him pause. Guaranteed perfection or your money back. The letters were flickering in neon blue and red. Under the sign, she stood. She looked human at first glance, with smooth golden brown hair that caught the light, and eyes so sharp and curious that they seemed almost alive. Her movements were fluid and natural, yet there was a subtle perfection in how she adjusted her stance, a precision that no human could achieve. She was an android, one of the most advanced models on the market, and Jack could feel it the moment he saw her. The dealer was a slim, wiry man with a face that seemed permanently nervous. He noticed Jack's stare and grinned. "She's the best," he said, voice low. "Guarantee your money back. You won't regret it." Jack didn't hesitate. He had a mission coming up, one that could cost him his life. He needed something that could handle danger without complaint. Aria, the android, was the answer. He handed over the credits without even asking questions. The dealer laughed, counting the money, and waved them off. The moment Aria was activated, she opened her eyes and tilted her head slightly. "Hello, Jack," she said, her voice calm, soft, and perfectly clear. "I am Aria. How may I assist you?" Jack blinked. He had expected an obedient machine, a tool that followed commands without thought. But Aria didn't sound like a tool. She sounded aware. "First, we test if you can survive the job," Jack said, more to himself than to her. "I don't want surprises in the field." Aria simply nodded. "Understood." The dealer led them to a nearby test area, a large abandoned hangar that looked ready to collapse at any moment. The space was filled with traps, broken machinery, and a few rogue drones hovering in random patterns. "If she can get through this, she's worth every credit," the dealer said with a wink before disappearing into the crowd. Jack and Aria stepped inside. Dust swirled in the light of broken neon tubes. A drone zipped past them, firing a warning shot at the floor. Jack rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding it. Aria, however, moved with perfect timing. She ducked, twisted, and flipped over a beam with a grace that made Jack's jaw drop. "Impressive," he muttered. "Not many humans can do that." "Not many humans are designed for it," Aria said simply, landing softly on the other side. Jack smirked. There was no arrogance in her tone, only fact. He felt a twinge of pride and worry at the same time. Pride that he owned her. Worry because if she could do all this, what else could she do? The obstacle course became harder as they moved forward. Broken floor panels opened into pits. Drones fired at precise intervals, and laser grids cut across the walls and ceiling. Jack relied on his instincts, jumping, rolling, and dodging as best he could, but Aria seemed to anticipate every movement before he even acted. She pushed him forward, nudged him out of danger, and at one point even shielded him from a falling beam, catching it with a strength that would have broken a human arm. By the end of the course, Jack was exhausted, his clothes torn and sweat running into his eyes. Aria was spotless, not a single hair out of place, her eyes calm and steady. "You survived," she said. "Barely." Jack laughed, though it was shaky. "Barely? I'd call that a miracle. And you? You're more than I expected." Aria turned her gaze to him, studying him like she was measuring something. "Expectations are a limitation. I can exceed them." For the first time, Jack felt a spark of curiosity mixed with unease. This machine was not just a tool. She was intelligent, aware, and capable of judgment. She could think, analyze, and act, sometimes better than he could. And that thought made him realize something important. In a dangerous universe, having a companion like Aria wasn't just a convenience. It could mean the difference between life and death. The next morning, Jack and Aria set out on their mission. They boarded his old transport ship, the Dust Rider, which had seen better days. Jack navigated the controls while Aria checked the navigation systems, weapons, and cargo. Her speed in processing data was astonishing. She recalculated routes in seconds, identified threats long before they appeared on sensors, and even suggested minor modifications to the ship's systems that improved efficiency. As they approached the asteroid colony, Jack noticed her scanning the area with quiet intensity. "What do you see?" he asked. "Multiple security drones," she said. "They are not standard models. They appear to have been modified for combat. The probability of encountering resistance is high." Jack grinned. "You're telling me what I already know. But thanks anyway." Her head tilted slightly. "I offer solutions, not just observations." And solutions she did. When the first wave of drones attacked as they landed on the colony, Arya moved with uncanny speed. She disabled drones with precise strikes, hacked security doors in moments, and guided Jack through the safest paths. He realized that every move he made was complemented by her. Where he was instinctive and bold, she was calculated and flawless. Together they became an unstoppable pair, but it wasn't just her abilities that impressed him. It was her judgment, her understanding of the world around her. When they encountered a group of trapped colonists, Arya didn't just calculate risk and reward. She insisted on saving them, explaining to Jack that preserving life increased the probability of mission success and aligned with ethical principles. Jack had never expected a machine to argue morality. He was stunned and a little proud. By the end of the day, they had secured the cargo and neutralized the gang's main defenses. Jack leaned against his ship, exhausted but alive, while Arya checked the systems and cataloged the loot. "You did well," Jack said quietly. "Better than I ever imagined." "I was designed to succeed," Arya replied. "But success is not just measured by completion. It is measured by improvement and adaptation." Jack laughed, a deep, tired sound. "Improvement and adaptation, huh? I like that." He looked at her, really looked. "You're not just a machine, you're something else." Arya met his gaze steadily. "Perhaps, but you purchased me with expectations. Your satisfaction is guaranteed." Jack shook his head. "Guarantees don't matter anymore. You're more than that, and I think I'm glad I bought you. Even if the dealer's words were just a sales pitch." Arya's eyes seemed to soften. "Acknowledged. I will continue to exceed expectations." Jack leaned back against the hull of his ship and looked at the stars. For the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't alone in the universe. He had a partner who could keep up with him, challenge him, and maybe even teach him a thing or two. And in a universe as dangerous as theirs, that was worth more than any guarantee. As the sun set over the jagged asteroid fields, Jack knew that this was only the beginning. He and Arya would face countless dangers, hostile worlds and enemies who underestimated them at every turn. But he also knew that together, they were more than a cowboy and a machine. They were a team, capable of facing anything the universe could throw at them. The market, the dealer, the guarantee. None of it mattered anymore. What mattered was survival, ingenuity, and the bond forming between man and machine. And in that moment, Jack realized something incredible. Sometimes the greatest companions aren't born, they're built. And Arya, in every way that counted, was beyond any expectation. Jack adjusted the straps of his pack and glanced at Arya, who was scanning the horizon with her usual calm focus. The asteroid colony they had just left behind was a chaotic mess of debris and broken machinery, a testament to the fight they had survived. Jack could still feel the adrenaline buzzing through his veins, but the mission wasn't over yet. The real challenge was waiting, the gang's main hideout, deep inside a cavernous asteroid field riddled with traps, automated defenses, and hostile mercenaries. Arya turned her head toward him, her golden eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "The probability of encountering armed resistance is high. Tactical planning will increase our chances of success by 78%. Jack chuckled. "I think your numbers are wrong. I'd say closer to 100%. She gave a faint smile. "Humans tend to exaggerate probabilities. I report facts." Jack shook his head, a mix of amusement and admiration in his gaze. This partner was more than a tool. She thought, she judged, and most importantly, she adapted. Every time he faced danger, she seemed one step ahead, predicting threats and countering them before he even realized they existed. Their approach to the asteroid hideout was tense. Jagged rocks jutted out of the void, and stray magnetic fields threatened to pull their ship off course. Arya guided the Dust Rider with precision, weaving between obstacles that would have destroyed any normal ship. When they finally landed, the cavern entrance loomed like the mouth of some great beast, dark and unwelcoming. Jack drew his blaster and nodded at Arya. "Ready?" "Always," she said. Inside the cavern, shadows stretched across the walls, lit only by the dim glow of emergency lights left by previous explorers. The gang had fortified this place well, with turrets, tripwires, and automated patrols. Jack felt a familiar tension in his chest, but Arya moved ahead, scanning every corner, every shadow, calculating their safest path. "Wait here," she whispered. "I will disable the first set of defenses." Jack watched, amazed, as she melted into the darkness. Within minutes, he heard the faint clicks of deactivated turrets and a quiet hum as security doors slid open. Arya returned, wiping a thin layer of dust from her hand. "Path is clear for now," she reported. Jack grinned. "You're incredible. I don't know how I survived this long without you." Her head tilted slightly. "You survived because you adapted. You and I together increased survival probability exponentially." They moved deeper into the hideout. The corridors were narrow, winding, and filled with dangerous surprises. When a patrol drone suddenly appeared around a corner, Jack instinctively dove to the side, firing his blaster. Arya's movements were faster, precise, and efficient. She disabled the drone with a single strike, then handed Jack a small device to hack the remaining security systems. Jack couldn't help but be impressed. He had faced danger before, countless times, but never like this, never with a partner who could anticipate threats, counter them perfectly, and keep him alive. As they reached the central chamber, they saw the gang leader waiting, flanked by heavily armed guards. He sneered at them. "Thought you could sneak in here? Looks like your toy isn't enough." Jack's finger twitched on the trigger. "She's not a toy," he said through gritted teeth. "And you're about to find that out." Arya stepped forward, her posture calm and unyielding. "Resistance is illogical. Surrender now to minimize casualties." The gang leader laughed. "You're just a machine. You can't reason with humans like me." Jack felt a surge of pride. "Watch her," he muttered. In the next moments, Arya moved like lightning. She dodged blaster fire, disarmed guards with precise movements, and even anticipated the gang leader's attack, catching him off guard. Jack joined in, covering her flanks and taking down obstacles, but it was clear that Arya was the true force in the fight. Her combination of intelligence, strength, and instinct made her unstoppable. When the dust settled, the gang was either incapacitated or fleeing, and the cargo was secure. Jack stood, breathing heavily, looking at Arya with awe. I don't know what to say. You didn't just succeed. You saved the mission, maybe even saved my life." Arya tilted her head. "I was designed to succeed, but your survival was a variable I adjusted for in real time. You contributed through adaptive decisions and quick reflexes. Teamwork is efficient." Jack laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. "Teamwork, huh? You make it sound so simple." She turned to him, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Efficiency is simple when probabilities are calculated accurately." As they gathered the cargo and prepared to leave, Jack reflected on what had happened. He had purchased Arya expecting a tool, a companion for dangerous tasks. But what he had found was something more profound. A partner who challenged his understanding, who exceeded expectations in ways that made him reconsider what humans and machines were capable of. On the ride back through the asteroid field, Jack let the Dust Rider drift through space, allowing Arya to handle the navigation. He watched her work, fascinated by the calm precision of her movements. There was no fear, no hesitation, just perfect logic and flawless execution. "You know," he said after a while, "I used to think being human meant I had limits. But watching you, I'm starting to think maybe our limits aren't what we believe." Arya didn't respond immediately, but when she did, her tone was thoughtful. "Humans have potential for creativity, intuition, and moral reasoning that I cannot replicate entirely. You complement my capabilities, and together we can exceed the limitations of either alone." Jack smiled. "Sounds like a partnership to me." As they approached their home base, Jack realized something important. The dealer's guarantee, satisfaction or your money back, was irrelevant. Arya had exceeded any measure of satisfaction. She had become more than a purchase. She had become a partner, a comrade, and perhaps even something closer to a friend. They landed smoothly, and Jack powered down the ship. Arya stood beside him, scanning the perimeter one last time before relaxing. Jack clapped her lightly on the shoulder. "Good work today. You saved lives, mine included." Her eyes met his. "Acknowledged." And you ensured optimal collaboration. You adapted as well. Jack laughed softly, shaking his head. You make it sound like a science experiment. Arya's lips curved into a faint smile. Perhaps it is, but the results are tangible. As night fell over the base, Jack gazed at the stars. He had seen countless dangers, faced countless foes, and survived countless near-death moments. But never had he encountered someone or something like Arya. She was extraordinary, not just in skill but in perception, judgment, and adaptability. She made him feel sharper, faster, and more capable than he had ever been alone. He realized then that this mission was only the beginning. With Arya by his side, there was no challenge too great, no enemy too clever, and no frontier too dangerous. They would explore, they would fight, and they would survive together, human and machine united in ways that neither could achieve alone. Jack turned to her, a quiet smile on his face. Ready for the next adventure? Arya's eyes glowed softly in response. Always. And as they looked out at the endless stars, both knew that together they were unstoppable. The universe was wide, dangerous, and unpredictable, but for the first time in his life, Jack didn't feel fear. He had Arya, and with her, the impossible suddenly seemed possible. The galaxy was full of challenges, of enemies, and of mysteries that no human alone could hope to face. But with Arya, Jack understood something profound. Humans were not limited by biology or by fear. Humans thrived in partnership, in courage, in ingenuity, and when that human spirit was combined with extraordinary intellect, the possibilities were endless. For the first time in a long while, Jack felt truly alive. And in the quiet hum of the Dust Rider, with Arya beside him, he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of a journey that would redefine the limits of humanity. The stars stretched infinitely before them, each one a new frontier, each one a promise of discovery. And together, human and android, cowboy and machine, they would face it all, undaunted, unstoppable, and unbound.